Hey everyone, it's Ron Johnson, and this is Locked On Sports, Minnesota's podcast network. Ron Johnson show coming up today. Looking forward to talking about the Vikings, Philadelphia Eagles. There's something that the Philadelphia Eagles do better than any other team that a lot of people don't realize. And the Vikings can stop them. But if they do not, they will not win this game. And I'll explain that coming up next in the Ron Johnson show.
On the field, in the broadcast booth, Ron Johnson is Minnesota sports. One-of-a-kind opinions, big-name guests, the teams you care about every day. It's the Ron Johnson Show, part of Locked On Sports Minnesota, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Ron Johnson Show, and I'm your host, Ron Johnson. I'm excited about today's show. Why? It's game day. It's a Monday, but it's also game day. And on game day, you have to talk about the game. You have to talk about what's coming up, what the Vikings can do to win, what the Eagles need to do to win. Who is the best matchup that we need to keep an eye on for this game? But before we do all that, as I said, we're going to talk about what the Eagles do better than most teams do and how the Vikings can stop them. But before we do that, make sure you subscribe to Locked On Sports Minnesota for endless Vikings talk during the football season. Not only can you find us on YouTube or your favorite podcasting platform, but we are now on Roku and Amazon Fire with the all-new Locked On Sports Minnesota app. Please check it out today for all your favorite shows. Well, as we jump into today's show, I got to bring my producer in, Sam Ekstrom. And Sam, it's game day. And we saw what Sunday's games look like. We saw, I'm just going to jump out there. There's a sports betting app. I'm pretty sure there's a lot out there, but there are some through networks that you can win Terry Bradshaw's money, for instance. You pick the winners, pick 6 teams, you pick the point spread, whoever has the closest. Eventually, you have a chance to win, $100K plus Terry Bradshaw's money, my Uncle Terry. And picking bets, BetOnline, it's awesome. It's a great platform. I know for all the bettors out there, there's some that are way better than me, but this is where I'll say I was way off. Sorry. I picked the Bucks by 3, so I was right there. Picked the Panthers by 3. Giants got me. I picked the Steelers by 6. I picked the Lions by 6, so I was right there. By the way, Steelers lost to the Patriots. I picked the Seahawks by 3, way off. 49ers getting Jimmy G back, which I can't wait because Dan Patrick bet a fan that he would take a pie to the face if Jimmy Garoppolo ever starts a game for the 49ers in the 2022 season. Now, I don't know if he made the caveat of injury doesn't count, but who knows? And I said the Packers would win by 3. So I was 1, 2, 3. So I was 50% right. 50% does nothing for your pocketbook. I don't know about you, Sam, but that's why I leave the betting to the pros. I'll make some friendly small wagers here and there, $10 maybe on a parlay. But yeah, no, I'm not putting any big money on this. I just, it's too unpredictable. The teams that you think should win don't win, which is why the NFL is great. It's one of the best because you never know. Football is king, in my opinion. You never know. And so, Sam, this is where I take this. The Vikings-Eagles game, I don't really think there's a true favorite. Like, what was the last line, Sam, so far for the Vikings-Eagles game?
2.5. The Eagles are favored by now. It was 1.5 at one point. Now it's back up to 2.5.
And this is what I'll say to that. I love that because if you pick the Vikings just to cover, you're probably going to you have a chance. I think if the Vikings win by 1, it happens. If they win by 3, you got it. The Eagles, I don't think they'll win by that, but I could be wrong. And that's why, for me, it's just I just can't put more down than I'm sitting there. I don't want to put enough down where I'm sitting there wondering, am I going to pay my mortgage this month? And this is where I take this, Sam, as I pay off the tees. The Eagles have one of the best running attacks with their quarterback. People assumed, now this is the thing about Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is extremely explosive. He's going to give you that 70-plus yard run that he gave us Sunday versus the Dolphins. He will give you that. But Jalen Hurts matriculates down the field with legit runs here and there. 10 yards, 7 yards. He break contain in the pass. He's going to run. RPO. He's looking to run or pass first, then run. So it's more of a PRO. He's not a run pass option. It's a pass run option. He's rolling out. If it's not there, he's going to tuck and go. And he's really good. And people forget that he was one of the best quarterbacks in college football at one point. Like the kid went to Alabama, one of the best institutions for college football. Tua, no surprise, went to Alabama. Mac Jones went to Alabama, no surprise. I don't know how Nick Saban does it, money, but Bryce Young, so I think we got confused at one point about what Jalen Hurts was. Maybe it was that the offense wasn't built for him. It was built for Carson Wentz. And so then he tried to come in and run a Carson Wentz offense that wasn't really built for him. Now it's built for him, like we see Kirk Cousins, and he's doing well. So here's what I say what the Vikings need to do to stop this run game. And somebody said a stat, and I don't know if it's true or not because I haven't had time to look it all up, but they said last year, Jalen Hurts rushed for more yards and touchdowns than Lamar Jackson. Now, I don't know if it was the combined two or what it was, or if it was just legit. He had more rushing touchdowns and more rushing yards than Lamar Jackson. Hard to believe, but that's what somebody said. I don't know if it was per game or if it was total or what it was, because I guess, he didn't, I don't know what that was with starts. I haven't looked into all that. But here's my point. The Vikings have a guy by the name of Brian Asamoah. They also have a guy hopefully going to play tonight, Lewis Seen. They also have a guy by the name of Cam Bynum. Those are three unique athletes. Lewis Seen is a freak at his size, has the speed. Cam Bynum, corner, playing safety, unique. Brian Asamoah, speed, size, linebacker. You have to be able to, and I watched the Eagles game, and you did actually see a guy trying to spy him. Like you saw it. Like you watched the Lions highlights. They tried to roll a guy to his side, but then he runs the other way. And then on some of them, they had a guy spying, and then he pump fakes, and the guy jumps to the pass in the lane, and he can't recover. And so my hope is that the guy spying him doesn't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. That's my takeaway. Don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Like, if you're going to go get him, go get him. If you're supposed to spy him and keep him in your vision, keep him in your vision. Don't fall for the banana. Don't fall for the window dressing, the motion, the jet sweep stuff and all that, the fake handoff. Don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Because that's what the Eagles want you to do. They want you to take the treat, and then he's going to go out the other way. The Eagles' offense, even from a passing standpoint, like A.J. Brown has transformed this offense. He's thrown him he has a nice deep ball. He had some really good receivers at Alabama, and we forget that he's won big-time games. Like, he won a national championship. Like, he's done some ridiculous things. Like, he has an arm. I think we just put Tua in front of him and just assumed he wasn't as good. And then when Tua didn't work as a rookie, we're like, oh, there's no way Jalen Hurts is better than. Jalen Hurts is just as good as Tua. Tua was just the new shiny toy that Nick Saban wanted to take out the garage and say, you know what, instead of having you sit for a year and let Jalen finish his 2 years out, I'm gonna start my new toy because I can't leave it in the garage. Who leaves a Ferrari in the garage? I got to bring it out. I don't care that I have a Range Rover. I got to bring the Ferrari out. It's wintertime. I don't care. And then you end up like Stephon Diggs with your Lamborghini stuck in the snow in Buffalo. But this is what I say to this, Sam. I think the Vikings can win this game. Not by a lot, but I think they can win this game. I watched the Lions beat the Commanders, and we'll talk about that next segment. The Lions aren't a bad team, which leads me to believe the Eagles are not a bad team. They're both good. I think we took the Lions for granted. I was like, how'd they let them put 38 points on? The Lions are good. They put 35 points on the Eagles. I think the Vikings offense is better than the Lions. I think the Vikings defense is better than the Lions. And that's why I think that, what this 3-4 can do, having more speed backers on the field than D linemen. I think that's the big difference. Instead of a 4-3 going to a 3-4, you have more speed on the field. You can kind of because the Eagles aren't a true run team where they're in the gaps and all that. They're trying to get to that edge. And now you put Danielle Hunter and Za'Darius Smith in space. But I don't know. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen tonight?
Yeah, well, first of all, to clarify, he did have more rushing yards than Lamar Jackson last year, 784 to 767. So how about that?
It was close. It was close.
It was close. It was tight. I think Jackson missed more time. I think he was hurt for a few of those games. I would much rather contain A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert if it means you give up a little bit on the ground. I think that if you had to choose, like last week against the Packers, the Vikings gave up ground yards, but they contained the pass so well. And they got helped out by a drop at one point. But I think that if you can make sure A.J. Brown doesn't kill you and you get him into third down situations where they have to throw, that's where I think you win this game. So don't give up the big play. Don't let Jalen Hurts go 75 on you like Lamar went yesterday. But as long as you can keep them in third downs, third down and medium or third down and long, that I think is where you can feast defensively, bring the pressure, and fluster Jalen Hurts, because you can't really go to the RPO on third down and 6. I mean, that's got to be more of a passing situation. There's going to be a little more a little less guesswork involved for the Vikings defense. So try to make them a little more one-dimensional. I think that's the key tonight. But, if Hurts is running well, Ron, if he's getting them in third and shorts with his legs, well, that's when it becomes problematic, because then the whole playbook is open for Sirianni and the Eagles, and that's when they can hurt you.
Yeah, and so this is what I look at and see. So the Vikings offense, and there's only been one game, so let's not, I don't like to throw stats out there after one game, but I kind of have to. They are the best team in the NFL offensively on first down. They were gaining 8.6 yards per play on first down against the Packers. That's ridiculous. But what does that mean? You're getting second and short. You're getting third and short. And that's why we saw, and then you're getting 4th and 1 even if you have to. But that's why we saw Kevin O'Connell be so efficient. I think the other turn of it, now we talked about Jalen Hurts, for the Vikings offense, they have to continue in that. I don't know if 8.6 is sustainable on first down the entire season, because that's nuts. But I do like the fact that Kevin O'Connell's not afraid to take a shot on first down to get you 15, 16 yards, to get out of the shadow of his own goalpost. I like that he does mix it up to give Justin Jefferson a chance in space on first down, to say, hey, look, go get us 6, 7 yards. We'll just dump it off to you, see what you can do with it. You didn't see as many runs on first down, even though I think there was only between first and second down, I think there was I had the numbers yesterday, I got it written down, but it was 11 runs or somewhere, 11 passes, maybe the 26 runs. So we felt like there were more passes, but there actually weren't. And maybe some of them came late in the game when he had to run, when he was just running the ball because he was running the ball on first down. And I haven't looked at quarter by quarter, first quarter, second quarter. I'll have all that for tomorrow's show. But I do know, and I don't want to get too far in the weeds in the stats because it's sexy to me, but some people don't like all that. But I will say that, Kevin O'Connell's offense has to be efficient on first and second down versus Eagles defense, because then when they can pin their ears back on third down, and we saw them do it to the Lions, and Jared Goff is not Kirk Cousins, let's be for real, but they are very scary and dangerous because they throw a lot at you. I mean, the wide 9, wide 7 rush-ins, pointing in, looking at you, coming down the barrel. Nothing's changed with Philly. They are blue-collar town that feed off their fans. And Jalen Reagor put it best. You can't listen to the fans. And that's what I think the Vikings have to do. The best sound for them can be silence. If you can silence the fans, you have control of that game. If they're loud and they're able to get you, rattled on third down, where Kirk can't hear the play and then he can't change it, then it's going to be a problem. And I think that's what's going to happen. But, I know the link's going to be jumping. The fans are going to be lathered up because I'm pretty sure they're all leaving work today around 2 o'clock, leaving work early to start drinking and doing what they do in Philly. Good thing they're not in Buffalo because they break tables, but Philly, they break bones. We know that. They will fight anybody. They will beat up Santa Claus if they could. But that's going to do it for the first segment. Before we jump into this next segment, we're going to talk about the NFC North. What happened with the NFC North? What is going on with this division? Every week, I feel like it's going to be a roller coaster. Kind of like the Twins early in the year. We thought they had a chance, and then now we're starting to see they don't. But I think the NFC North is going to have a similar season where the Lions aren't going to go quietly into the dark. Like this Lions game next week, I don't want to look too far ahead, but this Lions game next week is going to be very telling of where the NFC North is.
Ron, I've got lines for you from betonline.net. The Vikings tonight, 2.5-point underdogs, over under 49 in Philly. Gophers in the Big Ten opener on Saturday against Michigan State, 2-point favorites against Michigan State, who was ranked 11th going into their game at Washington last Saturday. So the Gophers are favored on Saturday. You can get those lines and more at betonline.net, your number one source for all your pro and college football betting needs and sports info this season. Find the latest developments, game matchups, news, and podcasts, and every single line from these upcoming games in college and pro football. BetOnline is your continued source for all sports wagering info, live betting resources, esports, and scores. They've also got lines for MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts.
So, Sam, this is what I say about the NFC North. Currently where it stands, Vikings have to play tonight, so we can't really crown them number one. But they are the undefeated team.
They're leading the division as of today.
As of today, but the game hasn't been played. They are undefeated, 1-0. But they have to play the Eagles tonight. If they go 2-0, then yeah, they have a lead on the division because not everybody. The Lions are 1-1, Packers are 1-1, Bears are 1-1 as well. So it's not out of the question that anybody can jump, in my opinion. Well, Packers for sure ahead of the Bears because they beat them. I'm guessing the Lions Bears will be a tie, but then if you go to points, blah blah, they give you who's where. I'm going to put in my opinion, I'm putting the Lions in front of the Bears. I just think they look like a better team right now. Their run game looks strong. Where the Bears, I don't think they could find a run game if they were playing Madden with that team. Like it's just, I don't think they have a plan. Like Justin Fields looks really confused. He was running the ball at one point, threw it, and he was well beyond the line of scrimmage. Like for a guy that like a year ago said, "Oh man, the NFL moves so slow." Like I don't know what's going on. I don't know if they're not getting him prepared. This is what I will say. I think if Kevin O'Connell had Justin Fields, I think Justin Fields would be one of the top quarterbacks in the conference. I think he'd be, in the NFC, he'd probably be, top 7 in the NFC with Kevin O'Connell. I just think Kevin O'Connell will find a way to make that kid really good and use his legs and his arm. Whereas Eberflus, I think he's having the same issues that they had before. Like they just don't have a plan. And I think that's key when you sign up a coach. Like if you look at Shanahan, he knows what he wanted to do with Trey Lance. Prayers up for him. When you look at the Eagles with Jalen Hurts, you see they knew what they wanted to do with him. You look at Tua, same thing. Coach Mike came in and he knew what he wanted to do. Mike Daniels came in and it's like, look, I know what I want to do with this kid. I know I can make him good. And then you see what happens. He's killing it right now. I mean, I think he almost threw for 500 yards. So there's some coaches that get it, and then there's some that are just like, I don't really get it. Buffalo Bills knew what they wanted to do with Josh Allen. We were all like, what? This kid's not that good. Whoa, yep, he's good. He's good. He's got Stephon Diggs now too, and he's really good. So there's some quarterbacks that I think are stuck in a system that just doesn't help them. Matthew Stafford, we'll find out if it was Kevin O'Connell or not. Like it's going to come out in about 5 weeks. We'll see how the season pans out. Was it the chicken or the egg? Was Kevin O'Connell really a great quarterback guru? Was he a quarterback whisperer? But that's where I put the NFC. I think the Packers showed that they're still dominant. I think the Vikings, that first game, it just took those rookies a chance. If Christian Watson catches that ball, butterfly effect, I think it's a totally different game. I think that puts doubt into the players' heads for the Vikings. I think it gives the Packers a ton of confidence. I think they lost confidence early on that drop. Like they doubted themselves. It just never felt like they were like Rodgers never felt comfortable letting the ball fly. Last night, he let the ball fly. Sammy Watkins balled out. And so when you think about the Packers, the Vikings 1, Packers 2 right now, Lions 3, Bears 4. That's how I put the NFC North. But again, the Vikings get to play the Lions next week, and I think that's going to give us even a better picture of what this is. And the Lions find a way to beat the Vikings somehow, then we're back to craziness. We're back to, okay, here we go. I think fans are going to be questioned. Because even if they lose to the Eagles, I don't think that's a huge blow. But losing to the Lions will be a huge blow to the ego for these Vikings fans. What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, I thought the Bears' loss last night was the least surprising result of the week. I fully expected the Packers at home to bounce back like they always do. The Bears' offense is a joke, honestly, at this point. Like, other than, couple nice pieces in the run game and Fields' athleticism, there's just not much going for them on offense. They don't have Allen Robinson anymore. I don't know who their tight end is. They don't have any wide receiver depth. That's just a bad offensive team. And the way they beat San Francisco in week 1 was obvious. It was the weather. They were playing in a monsoon where San Francisco gave the ball away a couple times, didn't know how to play in that environment, and the Bears snuck away with a win. But in good conditions, the Bears' offense is not going to look very good against the Packers. So that didn't surprise me at all. I don't know if you've ever watched Baldy's breakdowns on Twitter, Ron, but Brian Baldinger does these film breakdowns where he breaks down some element of a lot of the games each week. And He did one this morning on the Lions. Their offensive line is mauling people in the run game. They're averaging over 7 yards a carry on the ground this year, and they have 3 runs of 50 yards or more. Jamal Williams getting involved. DeAndre Swift getting involved. Using Amon-Ra St. Brown on the end arounds with the jet sweep motion. Their run game is legit, and now that they've scored 35 and 36 points in the first 2 games, we might have to reconsider what Detroit has going on there. So them coming to Minnesota next week, that could be a sneaky, difficult game with that offensive line blocking the way it is. And I still don't trust Goff, but if they can run the ball that well, look out. So, yeah, I think Detroit is proving some people right. A lot of people put their faith in the Lions thinking, okay, this could be a much improved team. And while I still don't think they're a playoff contender, I think they're going to give a lot of teams trouble this season.
Yeah, and so I think Dan Campbell, he's got it going together. Like, he's got these guys, like, I mean, just you watch the videos. You saw the lineman, number 70, played in the league for 6 years, first time starting. The team really, gravitated to him. He cried a little bit. But he ran a guy down the field like Michael Orr, in his movie, took a kid to the bench. Mm-hmm. He took a kid 15 yards down the field on that run by Swift when he scored. And so when you see that, that's a guy that's now earned himself a spot. And now for a coach, you now have to figure out, how do I get this guy on the field more? And that's the first time he played guard. That was like, he played 6 years and never played guard and started for the first time at the position he's never played. But when you look at the quarterbacks of the NFL right now, again, all these stats aren't really accurate because you have to look at where they're at. So let's go to completions. The stats aren't accurate because it is one game. But you got Josh Allen up there with completion percentage. You got Matthew Stafford, Kirk Cousins, Tua Tagovailoa, Daniel Jones, then Aaron Rodgers. And that's where you see Kirk Cousins is still one of the top. When you look at the NFC North, of course Jordan Love's in there, but whatever, that means nothing. You got Kirk Cousins, and then you have to search down for the rest of the guys in the NFC North. Like Jared Goff and they haven't really put up numbers to say, like, okay, this is the guy. Like, this is our guy. This is the guy who's going to take us long run. If you look at passer rating, Kirk Cousins, 118.9. He's third in the NFL right now. 118.9. He's behind Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. Sounds like a top 5 quarterback to me. But again, it's early on because you argue with me because Jordan Love has the same 118.8. So I know what you fans are thinking, but Tua Tagovailoa is up there, Josh Allen's up there, then Jared Goff, and then you go down to A-Raj, and then you go down to somewhere on like page 82 is Justin Fields. And that's how I get those, why I say where guys are. I think the quarterback's going to take you as far as you can go. But this NFC North, it's wide open. It's only 1 game in for the Vikings, 2 games in for the others. Everybody's 1-1. If the Vikings lose, then it's absolute mayhem because now everybody's 1-1. Vikings have the head-to-head matchup with the Packers. Packers have the head-to-head matchup with the Bears. And then now the Vikings get to play the Lions, and then, we'll round that back out. It's going to be an interesting season. I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to what comes of it because I truly feel like Kevin O'Connell instills a lot of confidence, and maybe because I'm an offensive guy, I like an offensive-minded guy that, kind of really gives you what you need. But it's that time of the show that I love. And yes, people, it's softball season for my daughter. It's extremely fun to see her bat first. She had a couple, nice plays in the outfield. And she had a couple great steals to help the team. Team bats got hot, and they had a great game. But that's why my voice is a little bit hoarse. I have to save it for the fan line tonight because the Vikings lose. I know I'm going to have to talk a lot of you off the ledge and put your pitchforks away for Kevin O'Connell. But we got the Daily 3 coming up next. Excited about that. Why? Because we always get to give our hot takes. We have 3 minutes to do it. We have 3 questions each. But before we do that, make sure you subscribe to Locked On Sports Minnesota's YouTube channel, where you can find videos of all our shows, instant podcasts after every game, and the Vikings press conferences delivering all the biggest news. Like our videos, leave your thoughts in the comment section, subscribe to the Locked On Sports Minnesota for endless Vikings talk from local experts. Well, Sam, it's that time. Take it away.
Crazy comebacks in the NFL yesterday, Ron. Let me ask you about which was your favorite. So we've got the Jets down 13 with under 2 minutes left. They beat the Browns 31-30. The Ravens were up on the Dolphins 35-14 in the fourth quarter. They lose 42-38. Tua goes off. And then the latest game in the afternoon, Cardinals and Raiders. Cardinals down 20-0 at half. They come back and win in overtime on a scoop and score, 29-23. Craziest comeback of the day, Ron.
Oh, I think I got to go with the Cardinals. And the only reason I go with the Cardinals is because there's video of like fans popping bottles for the Raiders because they just thought it was over. And that's why, for me, that's so funny. Because one is the Vegas mentality, pop bottles, have fun. I'm in the club. They got that club section in the end zone right behind the field goal. So it's easily noticeable when stuff like that pops off, when the DJ's going and girls are dancing or whatever it might be doing. But yeah, dudes were buying bottles of champagne, popping it, like, oh yeah, shaking it like they just won a championship. Those dudes probably aren't even from Vegas. You know, they're just in town visiting, having fun. And then Kyler Murray does what Kyler Murray does, which is run around like a crazy person until nobody's paying attention, and he scores. He hits A.J. Green for a nice back of the end zone play. And then Byron Murphy Jr. is lucky because that scoop and score was awesome, but he did the Deshaun Jackson and literally almost gave the ball. I mean, like,
yes.
Guys were taking their jerseys off. They were trading jerseys. Like, how do you put your jersey back on after you signed it for somebody to finish out the game because your guy – toss the ball into the back of the end zone, which is a safety. Which is a touchback. So then it's a touchback. So now the Raiders get to get the ball at the 20. And because they both had the ball, if the Raiders come down and kick a field goal, game's over. So I will never understand the need to toss a ball so soon before crossing the line of like the goal line. Like, I just don't get it. Like, it came down to an inch. Like, his knee broke the plane and the ball came loose, which they said the ball was passed as well. He is so lucky he didn't have a petty referee that just wanted to call it and say, you know what, it's up to me. I get to decide this. And I think also he noticed like half the team was in the locker room and, you know, you could see the coaches panicking a little bit. But no, I got to go with the Cardinals Raiders. It was a fun game. Kyler Murray showed us that, hey, when they get DeAndre Hopkins back, like, again, I was one of those, like, and I don't know if the Vikings defense can scare him, you know, like they've done in the past, and they beat the Vikings last year. It'll be interesting to see. But, you know, when he gets D-Hop back, he's going to be even scarier. So that Cardinals matchup changes now in my mind. It's not an easy win, but that's what I take from it.
Interesting note, all three of those comebacks by the road team, which is kind of interesting. You don't expect that from the Jets. Jets still aren't going anywhere. You definitely – I mean, the Ravens are going to be fine despite that loss, but the Dolphins might be legit with an offense that can score that much that quickly, and the Vikings have to play them in 5 weeks. So
I know. It's a lot of scary teams in the NFL now, but it's early. People haven't seen film like Mike Daniels' offense. That was new for the Dolphins. So, like, a lot of these offenses are new. Like, people have to figure them out. So it'll be interesting to see what, like, in 3 or 4 weeks when people start to figure it out.
Yeah. Next one, this is kind of a sad one. Chris Autman-Bell, we've had him on the show. 28-0 on Saturday. The Gophers are going for a 2-minute drive. Autman-Bell reaches for a pass, kind of takes an awkward step, goes down, and is out for the year with a knee injury. So Chris Autman-Bell, you feel for him, 60-year guy. What kind of blow is this to the Gophers offense and to Chris Autman-Bell himself?
It's huge. I mean, he's the leading receiver. He's the voice. He's the heartbeat. He's the guy. When they need a fade in the back of the end zone, they haven't needed it yet. He was going to be the guy. They've blown every team out, so they have not had to, like, and that's why it's kind of sad. You know, I know you want to get stats and you want to get these guys in. You know, I know coaches can go back on moments and be like, man, we probably shouldn't have had them in there. We probably didn't need to play all these guys at this point. Like, this is an easy game. But you can't just rest players because you got to go through the reps. If it didn't happen now, it probably was, might have happened later. But yeah, it's a huge blow because when you look at the stats for receivers right now, then the next receiver up is a tight end in Brevin Spann-Ford. So, 8 receptions, 127 yards, 1 touchdown is their next best receiver. a receiving target. You got Michael Brown-Stevens, 6 catches, 107 yards, no touchdowns. You got Clay Geary, who now, I think he's on his 6th or 7th year, so he now becomes the active captain guy, on the field. He got hurt last year, so now he gets a chance to, kind of shine, but 4 catches, 73 yards, 1 touchdown. Dalen Wright is going to have to step up. We know that. And then we don't know if Brockington is going to redshirt. He's a really good, young talent. 3 catches, 47 yards, but he might redshirt. Daniel Jackson hasn't done much this season, only 2. But again, it's because they haven't thrown the ball much. Tanner Morgan's only completed 38 passes in 3 games. I mean, that's crazy. 38 passes completed in 3 games, only 53 passes thrown in 3 games. Like, that's less than 20 passes a game. And so they just haven't been put. And so it sucks because Michigan State was going to be that team. They need this. They need to be able to pass the ball and throw the ball against Michigan State. Michigan State's one of those teams where you have to be able to throw the ball on them because it's going to be. And again, I could be wrong. Michigan State's pass defense looked very sketchy, so maybe they can get by without Chris Autman. But I think Chris Autman-Bell is going to be the difference maker in some of these Big Ten games coming up. So it's a huge blow. Yeah,
he was the deep threat too. We saw it in the 4th touchdown against Colorado with that beautiful pass by Morgan. And I'm not questioning the fact that Autman-Bell was on the field because I think in the first half your starters are still going to play. It just is painful to see guys get hurt in a blowout like that, even though
it was 35-0 though at half. I don't know if you needed like I said that on the pregame show though. I was like, I'd love to see him just rest the players by the 2nd quarter. I literally said that. It was a little tongue in cheek, like I wasn't dead on serious, but I kind of was. I was like, at this point, Michigan State's up next. I know you can't look past your opponent, but I was like, this thing's going to be over by the 1st or 2nd quarter, and it was. Like, it was 35-0. So I mean, but hindsight's 2020. You can't just rest guys because you're like, look, this is over. We got 28 points already, but hey, it is what it is.
Yep, Gophers won that game 49-7. Michigan State on Saturday. Last one, Ron. Lewis Cine debuts tonight for the Minnesota Vikings, the 1st-round pick. What role do you expect him to play? Is it going to be on defense? Is it going to be just a special teamer? What do you think?
So in preseason, he looked good. He looked really good in preseason. Cam Bynum looks really good, though. So you can't just upseat a guy because you drafted a guy in the 1st round. Like, that's just not how it works. Now, if Cam Bynum had not been playing well in that Packers game, I could see it. Like, hey, look, that guy got beat. He's not in the right position. He's missing tackles. I didn't see anything like that on film where Cam Bynum was a problem. So I think Lewis Cine gets worked in there. I think he's part of that rotation. You gotta give guys a breather. I think hopefully, with this 3 receiver look that the Eagles like to do, like I keep saying, spying the quarterback. Lewis Cine likes to play in the box. Like, he's a guy that can run and play in the box. Cam Bynum can too. I would not be surprised if Lewis Cine comes in as a big nickel and just plays in the box to worry about the quarterback. If you take Jordan, you take one of the D linemen out, you bring in Cine. And now you just have like some kind of like hybrid look. I mean, I don't know, but like I hope that he gets used on defense and special teams, but I can't just see him upseating Cam Bynum because Cam Bynum hasn't done anything to be taken out. Like, he looks good. So it's an embarrassment of riches. It's a problem that you want to have. Because in the past we were like, man, the safety depth is like who's after Harrison Smith and Anthony Harris? We'd always used to say that a couple years ago. And now we have it. We have depth. We have 3 to 4, safeties you can put in there. Looking forward to seeing him play because he is the 1st-round pick. You draft him for that reason.
Yeah, Ron, I don't know if I'm more excited to see Lewis Cine play tonight or Brian Asamoah. I'm hoping that I see both of them. But in Lewis Cine's case, obviously in practice, he's not allowed to hit people. So we didn't get to see how physical he can be in a practice setting. And in the preseason games, he didn't really get a chance to show some of that signature Lewis Cine physicality. The ball just wasn't around him all that much. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do when the live bullets are flying in a regular season NFL game. If they give him some opportunities to get on the field defensively, maybe in a sub package. I'm also pumped to see Brian Asamoah. That's a player that they didn't unveil in the Packers game on defense, but I think he also has a sub-package role. Maybe he's chasing around Jalen Hurts, spying on him, making sure he doesn't scramble. That's obviously a major key to this game, is containing Hurts. And, maybe Cine and Asamoah have roles to play in that regard. At minimum, I think we're going to see Cine making tackles on kickoffs, maybe a little bit on punt return, but he undoubtedly is going to play a role in this game. The question is how much. It'll be a test of Ed Donatell's creativity to see how they incorporate him in his first action.
And that'll do it for today's episode of the Ron Johnson Show on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcast Network. And remember, when you subscribe to Locked On Sports Minnesota, you are getting endless Vikings talk with local experts. Subscribe to the free Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast feed wherever you find your podcast, and find our videos on Locked On Sports Minnesota's YouTube channel. And please make sure to like, share, comment. Let us know what you think. Vikings, Eagles. Who's going to win? Are the Vikings going to cover, or are the Eagles better than everyone thinks? Thank you, and have a great day.